So I got to let my guy talk. I got to let him sit here and get it off his chest. And I got to ask you, let me ask you this, because we're going to talk about Michigan and Ohio State. Take me back to last year. Take me back to before this game, 365 days ago. Obviously, it probably wasn't that exactly, but what were your thoughts? Were you confident? Were you nervous? Where was your head at last year?
I was nervous, not as nervous as I am this year, but I expected us to beat them. That was the one year where I remember all week before, like going up to it in the shows, I was kind of going back and forth, and then they asked me at the end of the NFL edition that Thursday night to predict it. And I said, screw it, I'm going Michigan by 3. Obviously, it was 42-27. And I got a little thing to show here.
Let's go.
Mr. Dwayne Haskins.
Woo!
Signed a jersey here with his, I'll go this way first, his name and number on the 2. And then beat OSU 5 touchdowns on there. So I found that signed jersey online. I had to get it. But yeah, that was one of those games you see these guys, you get emotional after their big wins. I almost cried that game.
Oh yeah, Katie did.
Because
Katie let us
the
know.
first time since 2011 that we beat them, and I wasn't really watching back then.
Yeah.
So for as intense as I've been watching, and pretty much for the last 7-8 years, it's been like, yeah, we're really good, and then we get to Ohio State and get manhandled. And it's just like, damn, man. Like, there was the JT was short game, and like a couple times like that where we got close but not close enough. I couldn't agree more with Ben here. I think if he lost that game, there's a good chance he goes to the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have fired him after the year they had last year. But I think if he didn't do that, he probably would have gone. But yeah, there's that just energy around this game. Obviously, both 11-0 for the first time since 2006.
Yes.
There's a good chance there's only one playoff spot for these guys, unless if a TCU and USC lose, then I think the loser of this game still slides in. And even if you look at a lot of the like playoff predictors and all that, they still favor the loser of this matchup to get in. I don't buy that.
Wow.
I think a conference champion slides in. Now they're saying it would be Georgia, the winner of this, and TCU would be the top 3. And they're saying Michigan would get in over a 1-loss USC or a 1-loss Clemson, or Ohio State, they say, would easily walk in over USC or Clemson.
I can see it. So, hey, 365 days now. Where are you at? Are you that confident? Break this thing down, because we talked about their injuries. We've talked about Corum potentially be pitch count. Where is your head at logistically and then fan wise?
For me, I'm sitting there, and when Michigan's healthy, they can run the ball on absolutely anybody. Ben, the only way a second SEC team gets in is if LSU beats Georgia, which I do not expect to happen at all.
Yeah.
Second SEC team won't get in. It'll either be second Big Ten team, one Pac-12 team, or Clemson if they win the ACC title game. As far as this game goes, like I said, they can run the ball on anybody. Depends which J.J. McCarthy we get. We know the Michigan defense is going to show up. It worries me a little bit the secondary hasn't really been tested this year. And your first big test is Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah. That's a little worrisome.
Yeah.
But I feel like we'll be able to get pressure. This Michigan team actually is better at rushing the passer than last year's Michigan team.
Right.
They've got more sacks, and I don't think it's really even that close. But Ohio State's offense is just so damn powerful, and that defense is much better than it was last year. Last year was ranked somewhere in the 60s. This year they're up around the top 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're much better in pretty much every aspect. I expect this game, like, they gave 7.5, 8 points to Ohio State in the spread. I expect this game to be won by less than 5.
Ooh,
I think this is very close. And based on the health of these players, I am rolling with Michigan. No Travion Henderson, no Jackson Smith and Jigba. I've got Michigan by 3.
Oh yeah. Now we've talked about this. You told me this before. You said the weather is supposed to be clear.
It's nice there.
Okay.
It's nice right now.
Okay.
I was praying for snow and rain for the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Ever since that Northwestern game, I was just like, come on, crappy weather, please.
Yes.
And I've been one of those people checking the weather like every couple days. Like,
Every
what's
day.
the weather supposed to be like in Columbus? And then it's just like,
refresh.
Yeah.
Come on. Ben says Michigan 27, Ohio State 24. Listen,
see, I had 30-27.
Right. So from what I've seen, like you said, when you guys are going downhill, especially with that offense, running the ball and limiting JJ McCarthy from doing too much extra, I honestly think with that and then solid defense, you're potentially unbeatable. And then at the same time, I've talked to you about CJ Stroud. We know his talent. We know how good he is. But I think this year, with having that 3-headed monster in the backfield, both prior to this game, it's kind of hidden some of his, shortcomings, some of the things that, that may be some red flags. So we're going to see. Now, I think you hit the nail on the head. The matchup of the day is going to be your wide receivers and that passing game against that secondary. And like I told Anthony and them about Georgia last year, going into the SEC championship, your secondary hasn't been tested. And if you get the right team to test them, and we saw what Alabama did in the SEC championship, that you better watch out. But fortunately for them, their team was just that great that didn't matter. You know what I mean? So, and with you guys, I think it's going to come down to that. But I honestly think if you guys could shut down that air attack and just limit them on the ground, have that solid D, but also run the damn ball. Keep them keep that offense off the field. I got y'all winning by 7.
Offense has to be perfect.
Yep.
That's what you have to do. Make it so they have to score every time.
Oh yeah. And like I told you about, this is a JJ McCarthy game for me. This is a game where we know what the running game is. We know the deep. We know everybody else. He needs to show up and prove that he's not just, this flashy quarterback that can make really great plays against the Rutgers and, some of the lesser teams and do it when it really matters. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see. We shall definitely. Yeah,
I can't wait.
I know you're just chomping at the bit. So look, we're not going to go. That's what I wanted to focus on mainly. There's a couple other games we definitely should talk about.
Big time games.
Well, right. This game means something to me. Clemson at 10-1, playing South Carolina at 7-4. I will say I did not expect that at the beginning of this year, and then I also didn't expect what they did to Tennessee a week ago. Dear God.
To me, that's arguably the best single game performance we've seen all season by a team.
Right.
That's right up there. I'll put that up against pretty much anybody. He looked good, but he also looked good coming out of warmups at halftime last week and played a couple plays. So it's just going to be based on what he can do pain wise. I kind of agree with Johnny there. I don't necessarily want to have to depend on McCarthy.
Yep.
That with how he's played this season, it's been so up and down that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
This is one of those games where it was good to have Cade McNamara last year because you knew what you were going to get.
Yes.
So, but McCarthy was the guy that's supposed to take us over the top. So take us over the top.
There it is.
This game though, if this game absolutely comes down to what Spencer Rattler we get. If we get the Spencer Rattler that showed up last week, South Carolina's beating Clemson. Yeah. I don't think it'll be close. I think they'll mop the floor with them. But if you're Clemson, you've got to keep Spencer Rattler off the field, especially if he's this hot. It's a good thing you can run the ball like crazy on South Carolina. That run defense is terrible.
Yeah.
So Will Shipley might have 200 rushing yards today. Like it's that bad for South Carolina. But again, Rattler's gonna have to be perfect.
Yeah.
We talked about Stroud having to be perfect. Rattler's gonna have to be perfect.
And honestly, I think this is going to come down to, like you said, which Spencer Rattler we're going to see or which South Carolina team we're going to see. This is a South Carolina team that we know put up 63 against Tennessee. We know that. But they also upset Kentucky 24-10. But they also lost to Missouri. You know what I mean? They also got stomped by Florida. So it's really what team are you getting? Like, absolutely what you're talking about. That run defense is poor. We've seen, they have Cam Smith in the secondary. He's a ball hawk, but that's it.
Very
you know
good.
what I mean? Like, what else do you have there? We know how that running game is with Clemson and the solid defense. This could very well be like a 17-10 game, or it could be 45-38. Like, it could be a shootout. You know what I mean? You've talked about it that you're not sold on Clemson.
Not in the slightest.
I'm not sold on DJ Ugalele. I'm not sold on the quarterback.
Yeah.
I love Shipley. I love that defense. And I think
you got probably 4 NFL defensive linemen on that defense right now.
Right. One of the guys I was going to say when we were going to the draft last night, or the mock draft, was Deese, their D line at a Clemson top 10 potentially. So
yeah.
Honestly, in this game, you're absolutely right. It's going to be a rivalry game, both in the state of South Carolina. We'll see if Beamer's got these guys playing. It's just he can't. It's not seeming to be consistent. They had the 4 or 5 game winning streak,
up and down.
But yeah, it's just 1 week great, 1 week down. So we'll see what team shows up. I think the thing that could potentially plague Clemson is overlooking this game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they still have aspirations to potentially make it to the Final Four. So because they know they have us, which was going to be a tough test. But this game could very well be something that they potentially overlook. So they have to get this one, get the next one for them to still be in consideration as a 1-loss team and conference champ. So we'll see. We'll absolutely see. What are some of the other ones real quick? I'm gonna let you go. We're not even gonna do going for 2 because I see the games are about to start. You have anything else that you're really looking at as far as today?
So for me, I brought up the 1 half of Texas Baylor, and I said we'd talk about the other part later. So for me, Kansas State, Kansas.
Oh yeah.
This game decides who plays TCU next week in the Big 12 championship game. If Kansas State wins, they're in. It's winning, you're in. Simple as that for Kansas State. But it's also losing, you go home.
Yeah.
Because with Texas beating Baylor last night, if Kansas State cannot beat Kansas, Texas goes back at another shot at TCU. And TCU, I think, should probably be hoping for Kansas State to win.
Oh yeah.
I think if Texas gets another shot at them, I think they beat them.
They get the dub. Now, I'm right there on board with you. Now I got to say that first one looked rough at points, and TCU looked all of as advertised. But it's difficult, and we saw with Georgia a year ago. It's difficult to beat a team twice in the same season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Georgia only got shell shocked in the SEC championship game. Once they got to the Natty, they flipped it. So I completely agree with you. Look, Texas is another team that is inconsistent. We've seen how they can go toe-to-toe with Alabama. We've seen how they can
with their backup quarterback.
Right. We've seen how they've been able to sustain, but at the same time, you lose a number of these matchups in the Big 12 that it's just like, what are you doing? I mean, at one point, we're talking about Quinn Ewers, man. He's the guy for the future. And then the next time, in the next breath, we're talking about, well, are they looking at who's coming up behind him? Can he hold the job? He's having a hard time holding it even from his backup. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So we'll see. We will definitely see. That's definitely one I'm looking at. And keeping in that same realm, TCU still got to get the W today. They still got to beat a 4-7 Iowa State team, yes, but with weapons. They have Xavier Hutchinson, who is one of the best wide receivers in the country.
Without a doubt.
So TCU is going to have to get this done. Is there any chance TCU overlooks Iowa State today?
Oh, absolutely. Because like you said, 4-7, TCU's already locked into the Big 12 championship game. There's probably a good number of people looking at Big 12 championship and playoffs already.
Yeah.
So we've seen a number, like Michigan, it took the last second field goal to escape Illinois. Maryland almost beat Ohio State. Georgia struggled last week. Like all these other big time teams, it took TCU running on the field as the clock was running to kick a field goal. The kicker couldn't even line himself up. He just had to get out there. Okay, let's go. So don't make the same mistake. Do not overlook these guys because they will test you.
Yeah.
for me, I think TCU still wins this game, and I think they win it fairly handily. But they cannot sleep on Iowa State.
No.
Not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. Look, I'm going to forego all the other games just for one more because we do have to go. A game, I'll let you talk about it, Alex, because you said something crazy is about to happen.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame beats USC. I think this is the perfect matchup for USC to lose. Look at how Utah beat USC earlier. You pounded the rock and you played defense.
Yep.
Notre Dame's doing exactly that, and they're doing it better than Utah.
Absolutely.
Notre Dame in the last 5 games is averaging 40 points a game. So they've got the offensive weaponry to match USC.
Oh, yeah.
40 points matches USC. This defense, though, I think is what's going to be the difference maker. You've got Isaiah Foskey and a couple of these guys that can pressure Caleb Williams with that horrible offensive line he's got at USC. And I think they make it difficult for USC to move up and down the field like they do against everybody. So I still expect it to be extremely high scoring. I would say somewhere in the 31-28 range for Notre Dame.
I like that. I got 42-28. I think Notre Dame, I think it's close, and then Notre Dame get like a pick 6 at the end that stretches it out a little bit more.
Okay.
But I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Johnny, we'll see. We'll see.
Woo, okay. One thing I will say about Notre Dame is what we have seen, and Notre Dame. What we have seen, and I've seen it up close and personal. That defense can stop high-powered offense. Yep. I mean, we had come off games where we had scored 60, 35, 44, and going up and against them. And albeit, I want to say Sam Howell, Drake May had a solid game in that one. We still lost that one. They put up 42 against us, and they shut us down on offense. So, hey, watch out for Notre Dame. I'm telling you, USC without the running back, it's going to be very interesting because you want to talk about a Heisman moment. We all know about the Bush push and all that stuff. Watch out for this one.
If they win this game and Caleb has a big play, he locks up the Heisman.
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
He said, "Remember Marshall." Oh yeah, I remember it. I mean, you could.
This is say, not the same team though, Johnny.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. We can remember all those first couple games, but honestly, I think things turned around for me, in my opinion, at North Carolina, because that's when they switched it. They took a team that has a top player, a top team and that was undefeated at the time, and they were able to beat them. So honestly, this game is definitely going to be close. I think Notre Dame can pull it out. I'm with you on that.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.